Hey guys, welcome to a new video. Okay, let me think. I have to think how to start this, okay? Hey guys, happy 2025. Thank you for clicking on my first video of the year. So today we're going to talk about all these books and more that I have not purchased yet, or I'm going to borrow from the library. Today's video is going to be the 25 books that I want to read in 2025. Stick around to the end of this video so I can tell you about the template I made for you to plan your reads for 2025. The first book that I have on my list to read in 2025 is The Women by Kristen Hanna. The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna was my all-time favorite book last year, maybe just like all-time in general. So I've heard very positive things about The Women, and I picked it up last year but never got around to reading it. It's about American military nurses that served in the war. All of the books that I've read by Kristen Hanna so far have blown me away, so I expect this one to be no different. The second book that I want to read in 2025 is Anxious People by Friedrich Bachmann. I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. But I read 2 books by this author last year, A Man Called Ove and Beartown. All I know about this book is that it's a hostage situation. I don't know why I was smiling when I said that. But anyway, this is supposed to be, I think, a mainly character-focused book. And so I'm interested to read about the character development in this book. And as someone who does struggle with anxiety, I'm hoping that I can relate to this book. I've been pleasantly surprised by this author's writing so far, so I hope I like this one. The third book that I want to read this year is Nothing Like the Movies by Lynn Painter. I've read several of Lynn Painter's books and felt positively about all of the ones that I've read, and arguably my favorite book by her is Better Than the Movies. I read that one last year and I just ate it up. I loved how there was a playlist attached to it and how there were movie quotes throughout it. I love Liz, and I loved Liz and Wes, so I'm very anxious to read this book. I've seen some mixed reviews about this book. Some people say it's unneeded and it kind of just spoiled the relationship that was built up in Better Than the Movies, and some people have said no, they've gone on to college, like they're different people now, so it's pretty relatable. So I'm interested to see my thoughts on it. So the next book is The Ministry of Time. I don't know much about this book. All I know is that it's genre bending and that it has an element of time travel, I believe, of going back in the past. One of my favorite YouTubers, Haley Pham, talked about this book, and it was one of her favorite books from 2024, and I usually like the books that she recommends, so that's really all I know about this book, and I'm really looking forward to reading it. The next book that I want to read in 2025 is Heartless Hunter. I have heard so much about this book. All of my favorite booktubers have read this and raved about it. I think it's a classic enemies to lovers. I think it's pretty high stakes. What I know about this book is that there's a witch, and I think her name is Rune if I'm not mistaken, and then there's a witch hunter, and then they end up in a little romance. So the cover says her deadliest enemy or her greatest love. So I have just been putting off this book because I have not been in the mood for it for some reason, and I'm kind of intimidated because I have just recently gotten into the fantasy genre, so I'm very hesitant that I'm not gonna love this book, and so many of my favorite booktubers, as I said, love this, so that's why I haven't picked it up yet, but I really want to get to it in 2025. So the 6th book, I think I'm on number 6, that I want to read this year is 6 of Crows. See what I did there? I actually didn't mean to do this. That's very ironic. But this book is about 6 teenagers, I believe, that have special skills, abilities, powers, etc., and they are going to be involved in a heist and try to save the world. I believe, I hope I didn't butcher that description, but this has been on my TBR for years, and similar to Heartless Hunter, I have just not been in the mood for it, and I'm kind of intimidated again by this genre. But when I did buy this book at the bookstore, the bookseller was telling me that this is the book that got her into reading, so now I'm even more intrigued and just need to pick this book up this year. Okay, book number 7 is The Ballad of Never After by Stephanie Garber. I read Once Upon a Broken Heart in 2023, and it was one of my favorite books. No, it wasn't. Was it? I don't remember. Anyway, I read Once Upon a Broken Heart last year and I really loved it. As I have said over and over, I don't really read fantasy and I loved that one. It was very fairy tale-esque. It just had me like giggling, kicking my feet, and I ate that book up. I really couldn't put it down, and it was just something like refreshing and nostalgic to me. So I'm really excited to continue and finish the series this year.
3, 2, 1, fire.
The next book, I think book number 8, is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. I don't know much about this book. This book has been described in a lot of videos that I've read and I just keep forgetting what it's about. I guess it's about an encyclopedia of fairies. I don't know. The reason that I picked it up is because of the cover. It's so beautiful and it just intrigued me. It doesn't look like an overly long book. I think maybe the first time I've seen it was in one of Haley Pham's YouTube videos, and she, I think, if I remember correctly, really enjoyed it, and so that made me want to pick it up. So book number 9 is Sunrise on the Reaping. Who's that author? That wrote The Hunger Games? I don't remember. I'll just cut that out. Suzanne Collins? I think that's it. I want to read this book because it's Haymitch's story, and I love the Hunger Games series. I eat it up. Dystopia is my favorite genre, so I'm really looking forward to reading that book. Enough said. The next book that I am definitely going to read in 2025 is A Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. As we can see here, or maybe not see here, I'm not sure. I have I think that's all of Emily Henry's books. And I love her as an author, so I will definitely be picking up this book. Number 11 is Wild Love by Elsie Silver. Now, this is a book that I need to get off my TBR because it's been on there for a while. I have seen everyone talking about it. The cover is absolutely stunning. I don't currently own this book, but will be buying a copy or borrowing it from the library, not sure yet. So I always forget the plot of this book after I read it, but I think it has to do with the male main character, Ford, maybe his name is, being a billionaire, and then a young girl comes into his life, claims that he's her father. Then Rosie comes into the picture and is the child's nanny, I believe, and then of course the romance unfolds from there. So I'm very excited to read this book. The next book that I want to read is Powerless by Lauren Roberts. And I think that this book is very similar to Heartless Hunter, if I'm not mistaken. This is another fantasy that I've been wanting to read for a while and want to get off my TBR. I'm intimidated by this book, but I think it's a high stakes enemies to lovers, and I've just seen person after person after person talk about this book, and I need to see what the hype's all about. The next book that I will definitely be reading in 2025 is It's a Love Story by Annabelle Monaghan. I know absolutely nothing about this book. All I know is that number 1, it's the title of a Taylor Swift song, so of course I'm going to be reading it. And number 2, it's by Annabelle Monaghan, so of course I'm going to read it. I've read all of her books. I absolutely love them, and I'm sure that this one will be no different. Okay.
You're fine.
All right, I'm ready.
It's going.
Oh. Okay. Sorry, I didn't realize you were recording. So the next book that is on my list of 25 books for 2025 is Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Now, I did just finish this book last week, I think, and I gave it a 3 stars. So I enjoyed my time with this book, but it's definitely the least favorite of the 3 that I have read in the Harry Potter series. But I put it on this list to definitely motivate me to continue reading the series. So I'll give, wait, no, I won't. I'm just done. I'm done. Done talking about it. I have nothing left to say. Okay. The next book that I have on my list for 2025 is The No-Show by Beth O'Leary. This is another one that I have had on my TBR for so long and have been so intrigued by. I actually did finish this a few days ago, and I gave this one a 3.25 stars. So wasn't my favorite, but I will say the cover definitely deceived me a little bit. I thought it was just going to be this cute, cozy Valentine's Day romance, but it was not that. It was a romance, but it was dual POV, or not dual POV, but multiple POVs. It was from the point of view of 3 different women, and it's a little bit of a mystery element. It's very intriguing. I was a bit confused throughout the book, so that's why I didn't rate it super highly, but it's definitely a very deep romance. So if you're into stuff like that, then I would recommend it.
Oh.
Where's that book? Did I put it in the wrong order? Did I skip one? Oh, I skipped one. Okay. Alright, so this next book I'm super excited about, and it is Love of My Afterlife. Now, as you can see, this is my current read, and my wonderful husband bought this for me at Target because in 2024, I picked this book up so many times and did not buy it. So finally, for Christmas, my husband bought it for me because he was tired of me picking it up in the store and putting it back down. And the reason that I want to read this is because purely off of the cover. Yes, I am judging a book by its cover, and for this case, it was correct because I have less than 100 pages and I'm pretty sure this is going to be a 4.5 or 5 star. I have enjoyed every second of this book. I'm really hoping that the last little bit of the book doesn't ruin it for me, but very excited about this read. Okay, so the next book that I want to read this year is Wicked. I think this is the original cover if I'm not wrong. I have seen a lot of gorgeous covers at Barnes & Noble and Books A Million since I've been out. I ordered this book directly after my husband and my best friend and I watched the movie, and I was very intrigued by the movie and remembered that it was based off of a book, so I thought that it would be very fitting for me to read the book, and then I hope to maybe do a video comparing the movie and the book, so watch out for that video this year. But yeah, that's on my list. Okay. So, the next book on my list is Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. This has been on my TBR since May 31st, 2024. That is not that long. I've wanted to read this book for longer. Ever since I got onto Book Talk, actually, this was one of the books that I've seen people raving about, and I've gone back and forth about whether I wanted to read it because I know that it has a lot of toxic relationships in it, and I was like, I don't know if that's for me, but I think the benefits of me reading it would outweigh the things that I would possibly not like about it, because I think it takes place in Britain and centers around rich teenagers, and I historically love reading about rich people, so I think I'll really enjoy it. I've heard that it's like Gossip Girl, and I loved Gossip Girl growing up, so I will probably love this book. And I have also heard that it's very character based, and I love that in books. And another thing is that I want to read Into the Dark by this author because it was a favorite of many booktubers that I watch, so I want to get to that, but I have to do Magnolia Parks first, and I've heard a lot of good things about Daisy Hates and the whole Magnolia Parks universe, so that's why I want to read this book. A side note, the cover for this book is absolutely stunning. I don't know if it's the original cover or the UK cover, but I don't know if you can see this, but it looks like that. I want this cover so bad, but I can never find it in the bookstores I go to. So let me know, leave a comment below if you know where I can get these covers. My 19th book I want to read this year is Rebecca. I don't have a physical copy of this book. I don't know why I looked around as if I was gonna find it, but I'm hoping to borrow this from the library, but the reason that I want to read Rebecca is because I have heard that Taylor Swift was inspired by this book to write Tolerate It. So no other reason needed. No other reason needed. That's all I have to say about that. The next book on my list is Scythe by Neil Shusterman. No. Yes! And the reason I want to read this book is because I think it's dystopia. I think it's in that genre, which again, I love dystopia. I ordered it for my classroom a while back, but never got to it, and kids seem to really enjoy it. All I know about this book is that there are these group of people called Scythes that are basically in charge of population control, which is very intriguing, and that's all my reasoning for wanting to read this book. So hopefully I pick it up this year. Number 21 is The Viscount Who Loved Me by Julia Quinn. So last year I read The Duke and I by Julia Quinn. I have several books from the Bridgerton series and I meant to continue it, but I just haven't gotten around to it. So I thought if I put this book on my 2025 TBR that it would motivate me to continue the series and see if I like it. All right, next. The last, well, this isn't the last book, but it's the last book that I have a physical copy of. So that is Riley Sager, The Only One Left. So I'm really hoping that I like this book because I put it on hold at the library, but I was impatient, so I went ahead and bought it. but then it just came awful at the library. So hopefully I like it so that I enjoy owning this book and then it makes my purchase worth it. But so far I'm really liking it. I'm listening to it on audio. I'm about 25% through it and I'm really liking it. I read another book, I think it was House Across the Lake by this author. Really enjoyed that one, so I have high hopes. This is about Lenora Hope, pun intended, and she supposedly murdered her whole family. So now she is confined to a wheelchair and she only has control over her left hand, I believe, so she can't talk. All she can do is tap. And then Kit, what's Kit's name? Because it's actually interesting. Kit McDeer. Kit McDeer ends up being her home health nurse, or she's called a caregiver. So she actually has an interesting background as well, but she comes and takes care of Lenora, and Lenora ends up, I think, revealing her story about the Hope family massacre to her. So I'm interested to find out what happened. I love the dual POV so far and hoping that this book ends well. Or I don't know. I hope that I end up loving this book. The next book that I want to read this year is Caught Up by Liz Tom Ford. I read Play Along in 2024. I absolutely loved it. It was one of my favorite romances in 2024, and I want to continue the series. I have heard that Mile High is just not good, or maybe not good is the word, but maybe not my jam, because I think that it's very spicy, but not in a good way, or maybe just overwhelmingly so. I've just not heard good things about it, suffice it to say. I want to go back and read the other books in the Windy City series apart from Mile High, so I've heard great things about Caught Up, and that's why I want to read that one. The next one I want to read is A Winter in New York by Elsie Silver. I reread One Day in December last year, which is one book that really got me into reading in high school, and I really liked it again. Not as much as the first time, but I still loved it, and it was very nostalgic, so I'm hopeful about A Winter in New York. Ooh. Okay. Ready? Ready to go? What? Oh. Thank you to my wonderful cameraman. The last book, number 25, that I want to read in 2025 is The Reappearance of Rachel Price, but I have already read it. So, I gave it a 4-star though. I really enjoyed it. The things that detracted from this book for me was the ending. It didn't really wrap up in a satisfying way to me. It seemed kind of just open-ended, and there were just some minor plot holes that I was just confused about. It didn't sit right with me, I feel, but the plot twist, they really twisted though, okay? I was hooked the whole time that I read this book. The only thing that was slightly alarming to me was the amount of F-words that were used, considering it was a young adult novel, but I think the concept is definitely intriguing. It's about Rachel Price, of course, who disappears and then she reappears. No, but that's obvious, obviously. But she reappears when they're making a documentary about her disappearance. And anyway, 4-star, love that book. Thank you guys so much for listening to the 25 books that I want to read in 2025. Before you click off of this video, don't forget to head over to my Instagram, Reading with Rissa, to find the template that I created for you guys so that you can edit it and put all of the books that you want to read in 2025. You can do this by just screenshotting it and then editing it yourself, but I will be posting that, so please give me a follow to see more content from me, and also please subscribe to this channel to see how I like the 25 books that I picked out for myself in 2025. I would also love to hear a few books that you guys are planning to read this year. Yeah, thank you guys so much again for watching. See you on the next one.